BigFoot Lives. Sasquatches of Montana. The Old Trapper's Tales from Mission Ridge. Chapter 1. The isolated cabin. The cold Montana wind howled through the trees, causing the branches to sway and creak. Nestled deep within the dense forest of Mission Ridge was an old, isolated cabin. Smoke billowed from its chimney, signaling the presence of its lone inhabitant, Robbie Redsen. Robbie's daily routine. The sun had barely risen, but Robbie was already up, stoking the fire and preparing his morning coffee. His days were methodical, a series of tasks that kept him alive in this unforgiving wilderness. He checked his traps, skinned his catches, and always kept an eye out for any signs of the elusive BigFoot clan. Mysterious footprints. On this particular morning, as Robbie stepped outside, he noticed something unusual. Large, humanoid footprints surrounded his cabin, leading off into the forest. They were fresh, indicating that whatever made them had been there just hours, if not minutes, before. Distant howls and rustling. As Robbie followed the trail, the forest's usual sounds were overshadowed by distant howls and rustling. It was as if the woods themselves were trying to communicate with him. The sounds were neither threatening nor entirely friendly, just curious. A peculiar discovery. The footprints led Robbie to a clearing where he found a peculiar, handmade trinket. It was a small wooden figurine, intricately carved to resemble a Sasquatch. The detail was astounding, from the facial features to the texture of its fur. Tied around it was a tuft of hair, unmistakably from a BigFoot. Grandfather's tales. Holding the trinket, memories flooded back to Robbie. He remembered sitting by the fireplace as a child, listening to his grandfather's tales of the BigFoot clan. Those stories spoke of mutual respect between man and Sasquatch, of times when they helped each other in moments of need. Robbie had always thought they were just tales, but now, he wasn't so sure. The sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Robbie, clutching the trinket, made his way back to the cabin. He knew that this was just the beginning of a series of events that would challenge everything he thought he knew about the world around him. The Sasquatches of Montana were real, and they had a message for him. Chapter 2. The unexpected gift. The Montana winter was unforgiving. Snow blanketed the landscape, turning the once green forest into a vast expanse of white. The trees stood tall and silent, their branches heavy with snow. The usual sounds of the forest were muffled, replaced by the soft crunch of snow underfoot and the howling of the wind. Robbie Redsen, the seasoned trapper, found himself facing one of the harshest winters he had ever experienced. The thick snow made it nearly impossible to set traps, and the animals had gone into hiding, making hunting an arduous task. Each day, Robbie would venture out into the cold, hoping to find something to sustain him, but more often than not, he returned to his cabin empty-handed. Inside the cabin, the situation was becoming dire. Robbie's food supplies were dwindling. The jars of preserved fruits and vegetables he had prepared during the warmer months were almost gone, and the salted meat was running low. Each night, as he sat by the fire, Robbie would ration his food, trying to make it last as long as possible. But he knew that if he didn't find a source of food soon, he would be in grave danger. One particularly cold morning, Robbie awoke to a strange sound outside his cabin. It sounded like a soft thud, followed by a series of rustling noises. Curious, Robbie quickly put on his boots and coat and stepped outside. To his astonishment, Lying on his porch was a fresh deer kill. It was a large buck, its antlers glistening with frost. Robbie was taken aback. He hadn't made the kill, and there were no other hunters in the vicinity. Who could have left it there? As he examined the deer, Robbie noticed large footprints leading away from his cabin. They were unmistakably the footprints of a Sasquatch. The realization hit Robbie like a ton of bricks. The Bigfoot clan had left him the deer. They had been watching him, aware of his dire situation, and had chosen to help him in his time of need. The memories of the mysterious footprints and the handmade trinket came flooding back. Robbie felt a deep sense of gratitude towards the Bigfoot clan. They had saved him from certain starvation. As he began to process the deer, Robbie made a decision. He would seek out the Bigfoot clan to thank them personally. He knew it would be a risky endeavor. After all, no one truly knew the nature of these elusive creatures. But Robbie felt a deep connection to them, a bond forged through mutual respect and understanding. Over the next few days, Robbie prepared for his journey. He packed supplies, studied the footprints, and tried to determine the direction in which the Sasquatches had gone. He remembered the tales his grandfather had told him of hidden valleys and secret meeting places where the Bigfoot clan would gather. With a sense of determination and purpose, Robbie set out into the snow-covered forest. He followed the footprints, using his trapper's instincts to track the Sasquatches. The journey was challenging, with the deep snow and freezing temperatures testing Robbie's resolve. But he pressed on, driven by the desire to meet the creatures that had shown him such kindness. As he ventured deeper into the forest, Robbie felt a strange sense of being watched. He would catch glimpses of shadowy figures in the distance, hear soft rustling in the trees, and feel the presence of something much larger than himself. It was as if the Bigfoot clan was guiding him, leading him to their hidden sanctuary. And so, with the weight of gratitude heavy on his heart and the mysteries of the forest beckoning him forward, Robbie Redsen continued his quest to find the elusive Sasquatches of Montana and thank them for their unexpected gift. Chapter 3. The Muse sprites whisper the forest was alive with the sounds of nature, but as Robbie ventured deeper into its heart, a new sound reached his ears, a soft, melodic humming, almost like a lullaby. Intrigued, Robbie followed the sound, his senses heightened. As he pushed through a thicket, he was met with a sight that took his breath away. Floating just above a bed of ferns was a glowing sprite, its luminescent wings casting a soft glow in the dim forest light. The sprite was no bigger than Robbie's hand, with delicate features and a mischievous glint in its eyes. It seemed to be aware of Robbie's presence, and instead of fleeing, it danced around him, its playful behavior captivating the old trapper. Robbie, though initially taken aback, found himself drawn to the sprite. It seemed to beckon him, leading him through the forest with its gentle hum and glowing light. As he followed, Robbie began to notice small trinkets placed carefully on rocks, in tree hollows, and beside streams. Each trinket was unique: a feather tied with a strand of hair, a stone with intricate carvings, a small bundle of herbs. They were eerily similar to the handmade trinket he had found outside his cabin. As Robbie collected the trinkets, he began to piece together a story. These were signs, markers left by the Bigfoot clan. The sprite, it seemed, was guiding him to these signs, helping him uncover the deeper connection between man and Sasquatch. The journey with the sprite was filled with wonder. Birds seemed to sing louder, the colors of the forest appeared more vibrant, and even the air felt fresher. Robbie felt a deep sense of peace, a connection to the forest he had never felt before. But as they approached a cascading waterfall, the sprite's behavior changed. It became more frantic, darting around Robbie with a sense of urgency. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the sprite vanished, its glow fading into the mist of the waterfall. Robbie stood there, stunned. The loss of the sprite's presence was palpable, and he felt a deep sense of longing. But more than that, he felt a determination to uncover the mystery of the sprite and its connection to the BigFoot clan. Drawing on his years of experience as a trapper, Robbie began to search the area around the waterfall. He found more signs, footprints, tufts of hair, and even a makeshift shelter hidden behind the cascade of water. It was clear that the BigFoot clan frequented this area, and the sprite was their guardian, their muse. As the sun began to set, Robbie made camp near the waterfall. The soft roar of the water and the chirping of the crickets lulled him into a deep sleep. But even in his dreams, the sprite was there, whispering secrets of the forest, of the BigFoot clan, and of the deep bond that connected all living beings. Robbie awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that he was on the brink of a discovery that would change his life forever. With the trinkets in his pocket and the memory of the muse sprite's whisper in his heart, Robbie set out to uncover the truth about the Sasquatches of Montana and their guardian sprite. Chapter 4. The hidden cave. Robbie Redsen had always been skilled at tracking elusive creatures in the dense forests of Mission Ridge. However, his pursuit of the enigmatic BigFoot clan was unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was a journey that led him deeper into the heart of the wilderness and closer to unraveling the mysteries of the sprites and Sasquatches. Guided by the playful sprite, Robbie followed a series of cryptic clues that led him through winding paths and over glistening streams. Every step he took seemed to bring him closer to the elusive secrets that had eluded him for so long. It was on a misty morning, with the sprite's glow leading the way, that Robbie stumbled upon an entrance to a hidden cave. The entrance, shrouded by overgrown vines and moss-covered rocks, was nearly imperceptible to the untrained eye. Yet, Robbie knew he had found something significant. As he stepped into the cave's cool, dimly lit interior, Robbie's senses were overwhelmed by the aura of mystery that permeated the space. The cave was adorned with ancient drawings etched onto its rocky walls. These were not ordinary cave paintings. They were intricate depictions of the bond between sprites and Sasquatches. The drawings told a story of harmony and guardianship, a tale of ethereal sprites guiding and protecting the towering Sasquatches. Robbie was mesmerized by the intricate details and the reverence with which these ancient artists had captured the essence of the bond. As he studied the drawings, Robbie felt a profound connection to the world of the Sasquatches. It was as if the spirits of those who had drawn these images were whispering secrets to him through the ages. The mysticism of the cave washed over him, and suddenly, he began to experience vivid visions. In these visions, Robbie witnessed the sprites and Sasquatches working in unison, caring for the forest and the creatures that called it home. It was a world where humans, sprites, and Sasquatches were intertwined, their destinies linked by an unbreakable bond. However, as Robbie marveled at the visions, he became aware of a shadowy figure lurking at the entrance of the cave. The silhouette remained just beyond the reach of the cave's dim light, obscured by darkness and mystery. Fear gripped Robbie as he felt the presence of this mysterious observer. It was a presence that seemed both ancient and malevolent. He couldn't discern its intentions, but an inexplicable dread washed over him. With his heart pounding and the vision still fresh in his mind, Robbie knew he had to leave the cave. The sprite, sensing his unease, glowed brighter, as if urging him to retreat. He didn't need any further persuasion. As he hastily made his way back towards the cave's entrance, Robbie couldn't shake the feeling that the cave held secrets that were better left undisturbed. The encounter with the shadowy figure had left an indelible mark on him, a chilling reminder that some mysteries were best approached with caution. Once outside the cave, with the light of day illuminating the forest around him, Robbie took a deep breath. He had uncovered a piece of the puzzle, glimpsed the profound bond between sprites and Sasquatches, and experienced the mystical connection that tied them to the wilderness. Yet, the shadowy figure remained an enigma, an ominous presence that hinted at deeper, darker secrets hidden within the depths of Mission Ridge. Robbie knew that his journey was far from over, and the mysteries of the forest still beckoned him to explore further. Chapter 5. The old journal. The sun was setting, casting a warm orange hue over the cabin. Robbie, still reeling from his encounter with the sprite and the hidden cave, decided to take a break from his outdoor explorations. He felt an urge to delve into the past, to understand the history of his family's connection to the mysteries of Mission Ridge. As he ascended the creaky wooden ladder to the attic, a cloud of dust greeted him. The attic was filled with old trunks, forgotten memorabilia, and relics from a bygone era. But amidst the clutter, a worn-out leather-bound journal caught his eye. The initials, RR, were embossed on the cover. Robbie realized it belonged to his grandfather, Robbie Redsen. Opening the journal, Robbie was immediately transported to a different time. The pages were filled with meticulous handwriting, detailing his grandfather's adventures in the wilderness. As Robbie flipped through the pages, certain entries stood out. June 12, 1947. Today, while setting up traps near the northern ridge, I stumbled upon a peculiar sight. A glowing sprite, not much bigger than my hand, danced around me. Its luminescence was mesmerizing. It led me to a clearing where I found trinkets, much like the ones I've heard the natives speak of, signs of the BigFoot clan. September 3, 1947. The sprite has become a regular companion on my treks. It seems to communicate, leading me to places, showing me signs. Today, it led me to a hidden waterfall. Behind it, a cave with ancient drawings. The drawings depicted sprites and Sasquatches living in harmony, protecting the forest together. December 21, 1947. A warning from the village elder today. He spoke of a curse, of a balance that must be maintained between man, sprite, and Sasquatch. He said that the sprites are guardians, protectors of the BigFoot clan. They ensure that the Sasquatches remain hidden, their secrets safe. But if this balance is disrupted, dire consequences await. As Robbie delved deeper into the journal, he began to understand the gravity of his family's legacy. His grandfather had formed a bond with the sprite, just as Robbie had. The tales were not mere stories but accounts of real events, of a deep connection between the Redsen family and the mystical beings of Mission Ridge. However, the later entries in the journal took a darker turn. March 15, 1948. The balance has been disrupted. Loggers have arrived, cutting down the ancient trees, driving the Sasquatches from their homes. The sprite's glow has dimmed. It no longer dances but hovers, its light flickering, as if mourning the loss. April 2, 1948. I tried to reason with the loggers, to tell them of the curse, but they laughed it off. The sprite led me to the cave once more. The drawings, once vibrant, now seemed to fade. A shadowy figure watched me from the entrance. Fear gripped me, and I fled. The final entry was dated April 10, 1948. It read, "The forest is in turmoil. The sprite has disappeared. The Sasquatches, driven from their homes, are restless. I fear for what's to come. I must find a way to restore the balance, to mend the bond between man, sprite, and Sasquatch." Robbie closed the journal, a heavy weight settling in his chest. The tales of his grandfather were not just tales, they were warnings. The balance of nature had been disrupted once before, and now, history seemed to be repeating itself. Determined to uncover the mysteries of Mission Ridge and to restore the balance, Robbie felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journal, the sprite, the Sasquatches, they were all interconnected, pieces of a puzzle that Robbie was destined to solve. As night fell, Robbie gazed out of his cabin window, the silhouette of the mountains standing tall against the starry sky. The journey ahead was uncertain, but Robbie Redsen was ready to embrace his legacy and uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the heart of Mission Ridge. Chapter 6. The midnight chase. The night was still, the only sound being the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant call of an owl. Robbie, exhausted from the day's revelations, had drifted into a deep sleep. But as the clock struck midnight, a soft glow began to permeate the room. The familiar luminescence of the sprite danced outside his window, casting ethereal patterns on the wooden floor. Startled, Robbie sat up, rubbing his eyes to ensure he wasn't dreaming. The sprite's glow was more intense than he had ever seen, pulsating with urgency. Without a moment's hesitation, Robbie threw on his coat and boots and rushed outside. The sprite, sensing Robbie's presence, darted ahead, leading him deeper into the forest. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting long shadows on the forest floor. Robbie's heart raced as he followed the sprite, the weight of his grandfather's journal fresh in his mind. As they ventured further, the forest's ambiance began to change. The usual sounds were replaced by a soft whimpering, growing louder with each step. Coming to a clearing, Robbie was met with a heart-wrenching sight. A young Sasquatch, no older than a few years, lay trapped in a poacher's snare. Its large, expressive eyes were filled with pain and fear, its leg bloodied and twisted at an unnatural angle. Robbie's heart ached at the sight. He approached the creature slowly, speaking in soft, soothing tones. "It's okay. I'm here to help," he whispered, trying to calm the frightened Sasquatch. The sprite hovered nearby, its glow providing a gentle light in the darkness. With trembling hands, Robbie examined the snare. It was a cruel device, designed to trap and immobilize its prey. But Robbie, with his years of experience as a trapper, knew how to dismantle it. Using a small knife from his pocket, he began to work on the snare's mechanism, all the while speaking comforting words to the young Sasquatch. The sprite, sensing the urgency of the situation, flitted around, casting its light on the snare, guiding Robbie's hands. After what felt like hours, there was a soft click, and the snare's grip loosened. The Sasquatch, though free, was unable to stand, its leg severely injured. Robbie, using a makeshift splint made from branches and his own shirt, tried to stabilize the creature's leg. The Sasquatch, though in pain, seemed to understand Robbie's intentions, allowing him to tend to its wounds. But their moment of respite was short-lived. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the forest, growing louder with each passing second. Harsh whispers and the cocking of guns filled the air. Robbie's heart sank as he realized they were not alone. Poachers, armed and dangerous, were closing in on their location. The sprite, sensing the imminent danger, began to pulse with a frantic energy. It darted towards the trees, urging Robbie and the Sasquatch to follow. Robbie, supporting the injured creature, began to move as quickly as he could, the sprite's glow guiding their path. The forest became a maze of shadows and sounds. The poachers' shouts grew closer, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. But Robbie, driven by adrenaline and determination, pressed on, the sprite leading them through hidden paths and dense thickets. As dawn began to break, the sounds of pursuit began to fade. Robbie and the young Sasquatch, exhausted and out of breath, found refuge in a hidden grove. The sprite, its glow dimming, settled on a nearby branch, its energy spent. Robbie, looking into the eyes of the young Sasquatch, felt a deep bond forming. They had faced danger together, and in that moment of crisis, a mutual trust had been forged. The sprite, though weary, seemed content, its mission accomplished. But Robbie knew that their journey was far from over. The poachers were still out there, and the balance of nature remained disrupted. With the sprite and the Sasquatch by his side, Robbie Redsen was more determined than ever to protect the mysteries of Mission Ridge and to restore the harmony between man, sprite, and Sasquatch. Chapter 7. The poachers' threat. The grove was silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the soft breathing of the young Sasquatch. Robbie, his mind racing, sat beside the creature, contemplating the events that had unfolded. The presence of poachers in the vicinity was a stark reminder of the increasing threats the BigFoot clan faced. The serene and mystical lands of Mission Ridge were no longer a safe haven for the elusive creatures. The young Sasquatch, despite its injuries, displayed a remarkable level of intelligence and emotion. Its eyes, filled with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow, followed Robbie's every move. It communicated through soft grunts and gestures, conveying its understanding and feelings. Robbie, witnessing the creature's sentient nature, felt a renewed sense of responsibility to protect the BigFoot clan and their sacred territory. As the sun rose higher, casting its golden rays through the canopy, Robbie began to formulate a plan. He knew he had to fortify the area, to create a sanctuary where the Sasquatches could live without fear. He contemplated setting up traps and warning systems to deter any intruders, and he considered seeking help from the local communities, hoping to create a united front against the poachers. The sprite, its energy slowly returning, hovered around Robbie and the Sasquatch. It seemed to sense Robbie's determination and the impending challenges. Its glow fluctuated, emitting a series of rhythmic pulses, as if conveying a warning of an impending danger. Robbie, interpreting the sprite's signals, understood that time was of the essence. The air was tense, filled with a sense of urgency. Robbie, with the help of the sprite, began to scout the surrounding area. He identified strategic locations to set up traps and surveillance, ensuring the safety of the Sasquatches. The young Sasquatch, despite its weakened state, tried to assist, pointing out hidden trails and secret hideouts known only to its clan. However, the task was daunting. The forest was vast, and the poachers were relentless. Robbie could hear their distant shouts, their determination to capture the elusive creatures evident. The sprite, its glow intensifying, led Robbie to the ancient drawings in the hidden cave. The images seemed to come alive, depicting scenes of unity and battles, of harmony and discord. Robbie, absorbing the ancient wisdom, realized that confronting the poachers was inevitable. He had to face the threat head-on, to ensure the survival of the BigFoot clan and the preservation of the mystical lands of Mission Ridge. The sprite, sensing Robbie's resolve, circled around him, its glow enveloping him in a protective aura. With a heavy heart, Robbie made his way towards the poachers' camp. The forest was his ally, its shadows concealing his presence. The sprite, ever vigilant, guided his steps, warning him of any approaching danger. The journey was fraught with tension, every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs amplifying Robbie's anxiety. As he neared the camp, the harsh voices of the poachers became clearer. They were discussing their plans, their intentions to capture the Sasquatches and exploit them for fame and fortune. Robbie, his heart pounding, observed the armed men, assessing their strengths and weaknesses. The sprite, its glow dimmed to avoid detection, hovered close to Robbie. It seemed to whisper words of encouragement and caution, its energy intertwined with Robbie's spirit. Robbie, drawing strength from the sprite and the bond he shared with the Sasquatches, stepped out of the shadows. The confrontation was intense. Robbie, his voice firm, demanded the poachers leave the lands of Mission Ridge immediately. He spoke of the ancient curse and the balance of nature, warning them of the dire consequences of their actions. The poachers, taken aback by Robbie's sudden appearance, were initially dismissive, scoffing at his warnings. However, the air around Robbie began to shimmer, the sprite's presence becoming visible. The poachers, witnessing the ethereal being, were filled with a mixture of fear and awe. Robbie, seizing the moment, reiterated his warnings, his words imbued with the power of the sprite and the ancient wisdom of the Sasquatches. The standoff was palpable, the silence broken only by the crackling of the campfire and the distant howls of the Sasquatches. The poachers, their bravado diminished, weighed their options. Robbie, his gaze unwavering, stood his ground, the sprite's glow enveloping him in a celestial light. The battle for the sanctity of Mission Ridge and the protection of the BigFoot clan had begun. Robbie Redsen, the guardian of the mystical lands, was ready to face any challenge, to ensure the harmony between man, sprite, and Sasquatch was restored and preserved for generations to come. Chapter 8. The Forgotten Trails. The forest was Robbie's domain, a place where he had honed his skills as a trapper for decades. Now, those very skills would be used not to trap animals, but to protect them. With the threat of the poachers looming large, Robbie knew he had to act swiftly and decisively. Drawing from his vast knowledge of the terrain, Robbie began to set up a series of traps. These were not the lethal kind but were designed to incapacitate and deter. Deep pits covered with foliage, tripwires that would send the unsuspecting intruder tumbling, and snares that would entangle and immobilize. Each trap was meticulously crafted, blending seamlessly with the environment. The sprite, its glow a constant companion, flitted around Robbie, its energy resonating with the urgency of the situation. As Robbie worked, the sprite seemed to beckon him, leading him deeper into the forest. Trusting the ethereal being, Robbie followed, and soon they found themselves on forgotten trails, paths that had been lost to time and memory. These trails, overgrown and hidden, were a testament to the ancient bond between the Sasquatches and the land. The sprite, with its innate connection to the forest, guided Robbie through these trails, ensuring they would mislead and confound the poachers. The strategy was clear: divert the enemy, lead them astray, and buy time to safeguard the Bigfoot clan. As Robbie and the sprite navigated the labyrinthine paths, a sudden rustle caught their attention. Peering through the dense foliage, Robbie's eyes locked onto a poacher, his rifle slung over his shoulder, scanning the area with a look of frustration. The man was clearly lost, the forgotten trails having served their purpose. Robbie, his heart pounding, weighed his options. Confrontation was risky, but retreat might give away his position. As he pondered his next move, the sprite, sensing the danger, began to pulse with a frantic energy. It darted towards a cluster of bushes, illuminating a patch of bioluminescent fungi. The sudden glow caught the poacher's attention, drawing him away from Robbie's hiding spot. Seizing the opportunity, Robbie made a silent retreat, using the underbrush as cover. The poacher, lured by the sprite's diversion, was led further astray, the forgotten trails ensnaring him in their maze. As Robbie continued his journey, a chilling sight stopped him in his tracks. A campsite, crudely set up, with large cages strewn about. The intent was clear. These cages were meant for the Sasquatches. The cold metal bars, the chains, and the remnants of bait were a stark contrast to the natural beauty of Mission Ridge. A wave of anger washed over Robbie. The audacity of the poachers, their blatant disregard for the sanctity of the land and its inhabitants, was infuriating. Determined to sabotage the poachers' plans, Robbie set to work. Using his knife, he began to tamper with the cage locks, ensuring they wouldn't close. He scattered the bait, ensuring it wouldn't attract the Sasquatches. The sprite, its glow reflecting Robbie's resolve, aided in the sabotage, its light revealing hidden traps and snares set up by the poachers. The task was arduous, but Robbie's determination never wavered. Each cage rendered useless, each trap dismantled, was a small victory in the larger battle to protect the Bigfoot clan. As dawn began to break, Robbie, exhausted but resolute, gazed upon his handiwork. The campsite, once a symbol of threat and captivity, was now a testament to resistance and defiance. The sprite, its energy waning, settled on Robbie's shoulder, its glow a soft reassurance. The battle was far from over, but Robbie Redsen, with the sprite by his side, was ready to face any challenge. The forgotten trails had served their purpose, protecting and guiding. And now, with renewed vigor, Robbie prepared for the next phase of his mission, to confront the poachers and ensure the safety of the Sasquatches of Mission Ridge. Chapter 9. The clan's call. The evening air was thick with anticipation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the mountains in a deep purple hue, a haunting sound echoed through the valleys. It was a call, both mesmerizing and melancholic, resonating with the very soul of Mission Ridge. The Bigfoot clan was communicating, their voices intertwining in a symphony of emotion and intent. Robbie, having sabotaged the poachers' camp, was making his way back to his cabin when the calls reached him. He paused, captivated by the raw power and beauty of the sounds. It was a call he had heard in his childhood, in the tales his grandfather had shared. But hearing it firsthand, feeling its vibrations in the very core of his being, was an experience like no other. Drawn to the source, Robbie followed the calls, the sprite guiding him through the dense forest. The journey was arduous, the terrain rugged, but the allure of the clan's call propelled him forward. Emerging into a moonlit clearing, Robbie was met with a sight that took his breath away. Gathered in a circle were members of the BigFoot clan, their towering figures silhouetted against the night sky. At the center stood an elder, distinguished by its silvered fur and wise, piercing eyes. The clan fell silent as Robbie approached, their gaze fixed on the intruder in their midst. The elder, however, stepped forward, its posture non-threatening. It communicated not with words but with gestures, its hands moving in intricate patterns, conveying meaning and emotion. Robbie, recalling the gestures his grandfather had taught him, responded in kind. A silent conversation ensued, a dance of hands and fingers, bridging the gap between man and Sasquatch. The elder's message was clear: the clan was in danger. The poachers, driven by greed and ignorance, posed a threat not just to the Sasquatches but to the very balance of nature. The elder spoke of ancient lore, of times when man and Sasquatch lived in harmony, guided by the sprites that inhabited the land. The sprite, sensing its role in the conversation, floated between Robbie and the elder, its glow pulsating in rhythm with their gestures. It acted as a mediator, amplifying their intent, ensuring clarity in their communication. The lore spoke of a pact, an agreement forged between the ancestors of man and Sasquatch. A promise to protect and preserve, to coexist in harmony. The sprite, a manifestation of the land's spirit, was the guardian of this pact, ensuring its sanctity. Robbie, absorbing the weight of the elder's words, felt a renewed sense of purpose. The legacy of his family, the bond with the sprite, and the plea of the BigFoot clan converged into a singular mission: to drive the poachers out of Mission Ridge and restore the balance. The elder, sensing Robbie's resolve, extended a massive hand, placing it over Robbie's heart. It was a gesture of trust, of unity in the face of adversity. As dawn approached, Robbie, the sprite, and the BigFoot clan gathered in a circle. A joint plan was formulated, leveraging the strengths of each party. The Sasquatches, with their knowledge of the terrain and sheer strength, would create diversions and barriers. Robbie, with his trapper skills, would set up traps and surveillance. The sprite, with its ethereal abilities, would act as a scout and communicator, ensuring coordination and timely action. The stage was set for a confrontation, a battle to protect the sacred lands of Mission Ridge. The haunting calls of the BigFoot clan, now filled with determination and hope, echoed through the mountains, signaling the beginning of a new chapter in the lore of Mission Ridge. Chapter 10. The ambush. The dense canopy of Mission Ridge provided the perfect cover for Robbie and his newfound allies. The forest, with its labyrinthine trails and hidden groves, was a fortress waiting to be fortified. As dawn's first light filtered through the trees, casting a golden hue over the landscape, the stage was set for the impending ambush. Robbie, drawing from his years of experience as a trapper, took the lead in setting up the traps. Deep pits were dug and camouflaged with foliage. Tripwires were strategically placed to send the unsuspecting intruders tumbling, and snares were set up to entangle and immobilize. Each trap was a masterpiece of ingenuity, blending seamlessly with the environment. The Sasquatches, with their unparalleled knowledge of the terrain, identified key vantage points. Their towering figures, usually a beacon, were now expertly concealed behind trees and bushes. Their deep-set eyes, always watchful, scanned the surroundings for any sign of the poachers. The sprite, its ethereal glow dimmed to avoid detection, flitted between Robbie and the Sasquatches, acting as a messenger and coordinator. Its presence, though subtle, was a constant source of reassurance and guidance. As the morning progressed, the forest's usual symphony of sounds was replaced by an eerie silence. The anticipation was palpable, each moment stretching into eternity. And then, it came, the distant sound of footsteps, the muffled voices of the poachers, their approach unmistakable. Robbie, signaling to the Sasquatches, took his position behind a large boulder. The sprite, its glow pulsating with a soft intensity, hovered nearby, ready to play its part. The poachers, confident in their numbers and firepower, walked into the heart of the forest, unaware of the eyes watching their every move. The leader, a burly man with a scar running down his cheek, barked orders, directing his men to fan out and search for the elusive Sasquatches. As the first poacher stepped onto a concealed tripwire, chaos ensued. The ground beneath him gave way, sending him tumbling into a pit. Another, attempting to rush to his aid, found himself ensnared, his movements restricted by the tight ropes. The forest, once serene, was now a battleground. The Sasquatches, seizing the moment, emerged from their hiding spots. Their display of strength and intelligence was awe-inspiring. With swift and calculated moves, they disarmed the poachers, using the very trees and rocks around them as weapons. Their deep calls, both commanding and assertive, echoed through the forest, adding to the poachers' disarray. The sprite, sensing the tide turning, intensified its glow. Darting between the poachers, it created a mesmerizing light show, disorienting and confusing them. The once confident and aggressive intruders were now reduced to a state of panic and fear. Robbie, witnessing the display of unity and strength, joined the fray. Using his knowledge of the poachers' tactics, he outmaneuvered and incapacitated them, ensuring they posed no further threat. The confrontation, though fierce, was short-lived. The poachers, outnumbered and outwitted, were soon captured, their weapons confiscated. The leader, the scar on his cheek now more pronounced, glared at Robbie with a mix of rage and grudging respect. Robbie, stepping forward, addressed the captured men. "You came to these lands with ill intent, seeking to exploit and harm. But these forests, and the beings that inhabit them, are under our protection. Consider this a warning. Leave now, and never return." The poachers, their bravado shattered, nodded in agreement. The Sasquatches, in a display of magnanimity, released them, ensuring they left the forest unharmed but forever changed. The sprite, its mission accomplished, settled on Robbie's shoulder, its glow a soft beacon in the aftermath of the battle. The ambush was a testament to the power of unity and the indomitable spirit of the protectors of Mission Ridge. Robbie, the sprite, and the Sasquatches, each playing their part, had ensured that the sanctity of the land was preserved. The message was clear. Mission Ridge was, and always would be, a sanctuary for all its inhabitants. Chapter 11. The fire's wrath. The tranquility of Mission Ridge was shattered by a sight that sent shivers down Robbie's spine. A thick plume of smoke rose in the distance, its dark tendrils reaching for the sky. The unmistakable scent of burning wood filled the air, heralding the approach of a wildfire. Robbie's heart raced as memories from the late 90s flooded back. He recalled the devastating fires that had forced the BigFoot clan to relocate, the heart-wrenching sight of their once pristine home reduced to ashes. The pain and loss of that time were still fresh in his mind, and the thought of history repeating itself was unbearable. The sprite, sensing the impending danger, flitted anxiously around Robbie. Its glow, usually a source of comfort, now pulsed with urgency. The Sasquatches, too, were on high alert. Their deep calls, filled with concern, echoed through the forest, rallying the clan. Robbie, drawing from his years of experience in the wilderness, knew that combating the fire was paramount. He quickly formulated a plan, directing the Sasquatches to create fire breaks by clearing dry vegetation and digging trenches. The sprite, with its ethereal abilities, darted ahead, scouting the fire's path and relaying vital information. As the flames drew closer, the combined efforts of Robbie, the sprite, and the Sasquatches began to take shape. Fire breaks were established, natural water sources were utilized to douse the flames, and the clan worked tirelessly to save their home. However, as Robbie surveyed the fire's progression, something seemed amiss. The spread of the flames was erratic, their intensity fluctuating in a manner that defied natural explanation. Drawing closer to the fire's origin, Robbie made a startling discovery. Scattered amidst the charred remains were remnants of accelerants, clear evidence of the fire's unnatural origin. The realization hit Robbie like a ton of bricks. This was no ordinary wildfire. It was a deliberate act of arson. Suspicions immediately turned to the poachers. Their capture and subsequent release had been a blow to their ego, and this fire could very well be their revenge, a cruel, destructive act aimed at the heart of Mission Ridge. The sprite, its glow now tinged with a shade of red, seemed to confirm Robbie's suspicions. It circled the area where the accelerants were found, its energy resonating with anger and sadness. The battle against the fire raged on, with Robbie and the clan working tirelessly to contain the flames. The Sasquatches, with their immense strength, uprooted trees and created barriers, while Robbie, using his knowledge of the terrain, directed their efforts to the most vulnerable areas. Hours turned into days, and the relentless onslaught of the fire tested the resolve of Robbie and the BigFoot clan. But their determination, combined with their love for Mission Ridge, fueled their efforts. Slowly, but surely, the flames were pushed back, their destructive path halted. As the last embers were extinguished, a sense of relief washed over Robbie. The forest, though scarred, had survived. The BigFoot clan, resilient as ever, had once again proven their indomitable spirit. However, the discovery of the fire's origin weighed heavily on Robbie's mind. The threat of the poachers was far from over, and their capacity for cruelty and destruction was evident. The battle for Mission Ridge had taken a new turn, and Robbie, with the sprite and the Sasquatches by his side, was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 12. The Alliance's formation. The aftermath of the fire left Mission Ridge scarred but resilient. The blackened trees and smoky air were grim reminders of the danger the forest had faced. Robbie, with the weight of the recent events heavy on his heart, knew that the time for action had come. The threat of the poachers, coupled with their vengeful act of arson, could not go unanswered. Robbie's first step was to rally the local community. The townsfolk, who lived on the fringes of Mission Ridge, had always shared a symbiotic relationship with the forest. It provided them with resources, and in return, they respected its sanctity. The news of the poachers' actions and the deliberate ignition of the wildfire spread like wildfire itself, igniting a spark of outrage among the people. Gathering in the town's community hall, Robbie addressed the crowd. His voice, filled with passion and determination, resonated with the townsfolk. "We've lived in harmony with the forest and its inhabitants for generations," he began. "The Sasquatches, the sprites, and the very trees that give us shade have been our allies. We cannot stand by and let outsiders threaten our way of life." The response was overwhelming. Men and women, young and old, stepped forward, pledging their support. An alliance was formed, its sole purpose to protect the Sasquatches and the forest from any external threats. The sprite, ever present by Robbie's side, played a pivotal role in the alliance's plans. Drawing from its ethereal knowledge, it guided the community in using natural methods to prevent future fires. Controlled burns to eliminate dry underbrush, the creation of natural fire breaks, and the planting of fire-resistant vegetation were some of the measures implemented. The sprite's glow, reflecting the colors of nature, became a symbol of hope and renewal. The Sasquatches, witnessing the community's efforts, were deeply moved. Their initial wariness of humans, born out of years of isolation and mistrust, began to wane. In a display of gratitude, the clan's elder approached the town. Communicating through gestures, it conveyed the Sasquatches' appreciation and their desire to be part of the alliance. The culmination of these efforts was a celebration of unity in the heart of Mission Ridge. The townsfolk, the Sasquatches, and Robbie gathered in a moonlit clearing. A bonfire, symbolic of the community's resilience, crackled in the center, its flames reaching for the stars. The sprite, its glow illuminating the gathering, flitted around, adding to the festive atmosphere. The Sasquatches, with their deep calls, provided a haunting melody, while the townsfolk joined in with songs and dances passed down through generations. Robbie, looking around at the sea of faces, felt a surge of pride. The alliance's formation was a testament to the power of unity and the indomitable spirit of the people of Mission Ridge. The challenges they had faced had only strengthened their resolve, forging bonds that would stand the test of time. As the night wore on, stories were shared, and laughter echoed through the forest. The celebration was not just of unity, but of hope, a hope that Mission Ridge would always remain a sanctuary for all its inhabitants. In the midst of the festivities, Robbie and the Sasquatch elder shared a quiet moment. Their bond, forged in the crucible of adversity, was unbreakable. With a nod of understanding, they both knew that the alliance's formation was just the beginning. The journey ahead was long, but with the combined strength of the community, the Sasquatches, and the sprite, they were ready to face any challenge that came their way. Chapter 13. The legend spreads the tales of Mission Ridge, with its mystical sprites and elusive Sasquatches, had always been whispered among the locals. But as word of Robbie's adventures spread, the whispers grew louder, reaching far beyond the confines of the town. Soon, Mission Ridge was abuzz with outsiders, each drawn by the allure of the legend. Researchers, armed with cameras and notebooks, descended upon the town, eager to document and study the Sasquatches. Enthusiasts, with stars in their eyes and dreams of encounters, roamed the forest, hoping for a glimpse of the elusive creatures. The once quiet town was transformed into a hub of activity, with makeshift camps and guided tours becoming the norm. Robbie, watching the influx of outsiders with a wary eye, was torn. On one hand, He understood the fascination and the desire to learn more about the Sasquatches. On the other, he feared the commercialization of their existence. The forest, with its secrets and mysteries, was sacred, and the thought of it being reduced to a mere tourist attraction weighed heavily on his heart. The sprite, ever attuned to the emotions of the land and its inhabitants, sensed Robbie's turmoil. Its glow, usually a beacon of hope, now pulsed with a shade of blue, reflecting the melancholy that had settled over Mission Ridge. Approaching Robbie, the sprite communicated a warning, its light painting vivid images of the consequences of fame. Scenes of the forest, stripped of its essence, and the Sasquatches, driven into hiding, played out before Robbie's eyes. The message was clear. The allure of fame and recognition came with a price. The delicate balance of Mission Ridge, maintained over generations, was at risk. Gathering the members of the Alliance, Robbie conveyed the sprite's warning. The townsfolk, having witnessed the bond between Robbie, the sprite, and the Sasquatches, understood the gravity of the situation. A decision was made. The exact location of the Sasquatches would remain a closely guarded secret. Researchers and enthusiasts were welcome to explore the forest, but guided tours would ensure that the heart of Mission Ridge remained untouched. As the days turned into weeks, Robbie's tales became the stuff of legends. Stories of his encounters, his bond with the sprite, and his alliance with the Sasquatches were shared far and wide. However, the true essence of the tales, the locations and intimate details, remained shrouded in mystery. Robbie, with the support of the community, ensured that the legend of Mission Ridge was both celebrated and protected. The researchers, though initially frustrated by the lack of concrete evidence, soon came to appreciate the beauty and magic of Mission Ridge. The forest, with its ancient trees and hidden groves, held mysteries that went beyond the Sasquatches. The sprite, with its ethereal presence, became a symbol of the land's spirit, a reminder of the importance of preserving nature's sanctity. Enthusiasts, drawn by the legend, left with memories of a place where magic and reality intertwined. The tales of Robbie's adventures, though legendary, were secondary to the experience of being in Mission Ridge, of feeling the land's pulse and understanding its essence. As the years went by, the legend of Mission Ridge continued to spread, drawing people from all walks of life. However, the core of the legend, the heart of the tales, remained untouched, preserved by Robbie and the community. The Sasquatches, with their deep calls echoing through the forest, continued to thrive, their existence a testament to the power of unity and the importance of preserving nature's wonders. Robbie, with the sprite by his side, became a guardian of the legend, ensuring that the tales of Mission Ridge were shared with respect and reverence. The forest, with its secrets and mysteries, remained a sanctuary, a place where legends were born and where magic was very much alive. Chapter 14. The final farewell time has a way of catching up with even the most resilient of souls. Robbie Redsen, once the agile trapper of Mission Ridge, began to feel the weight of the years settling upon his shoulders. His once quick steps had slowed, and the lines on his face told the story of a life lived in the heart of the wilderness. As he gazed at the towering trees and listened to the whispers of the forest, he couldn't help but realize that his time was drawing to a close. The bond he had forged with the BigFoot clan and the sprite had been the defining chapters of his life. They had shared his laughter and his tears, his victories and his losses. But as the days turned into nights, Robbie knew that he had but a limited time left with his friends, and the ache of that knowledge weighed heavily on his heart. One crisp morning, with the forest bathed in the gentle light of dawn, Robbie made his decision. It was time for a final farewell. He knew that he needed to ensure the protection of Mission Ridge, to pass on the mantle of responsibility to the next generation. With a heavy heart, he made his way to the heart of the forest, where the BigFoot clan resided. The Sasquatches, towering and majestic, awaited his arrival. Their deep-set eyes, filled with wisdom, seemed to understand the purpose of his visit. Robbie, his voice quivering with emotion, addressed the clan. "You have been my friends, my protectors, and my family," he began. "But the years have taken their toll, and I can no longer keep pace with the rhythm of this forest." The Sasquatches, though unable to speak in words, conveyed their understanding through gestures and deep calls. Their bond with Robbie ran deep, transcending the limitations of language. The sprite, its ethereal glow pulsating with sadness, hovered nearby. It had been a constant companion, a source of guidance and comfort. Robbie extended his gratitude to the sprite, acknowledging its role in his life's journey. As the sun reached its zenith, Robbie and the Sasquatches gathered in a circle. The air was filled with a sense of finality, of a chapter coming to a close. The Sasquatches, in a display of gratitude, presented Robbie with a token of their bond, a woven necklace, adorned with feathers and stones, a symbol of their shared experiences and unbreakable connection. Tears welled up in Robbie's eyes as he accepted the gift. It was a reminder of the love and unity that had defined his life in Mission Ridge. With a heavy heart, Robbie made his decision. It was time to leave Mission Ridge, to entrust its protection to the next generation. The town had grown, new faces had arrived, and it was their turn to carry the torch of responsibility. As he walked away from the forest that had been his home for decades, Robbie couldn't help but look back one last time. The Sasquatches, with their noble presence, watched him go. The sprite, its glow a soft beacon, hovered above the trees. In a closing note, Robbie urged respect for the mysteries of nature. He shared the tales of his adventures, the legends of the forest, and the importance of preserving Mission Ridge's sanctity. His stories, though filled with magic and wonder, were also a plea to protect and cherish the wilderness that had been his home. And so, Robbie Redsen, the trapper of Mission Ridge, embarked on a new journey. His adventures had become legends, his bond with the BigFoot clan and the sprite, the stuff of folklore. But in his heart, he knew that the spirit of Mission Ridge would live on, passed down through the generations, a testament to the enduring magic of the wilderness. Chapter 15. The legacy continues. Years had passed since Robbie Redsen's departure from Mission Ridge, and the forest had witnessed the changing seasons, each one marking the passage of time. The legends of Robbie and the mysterious Sasquatches still echoed through the mountains, passed down through generations like cherished heirlooms. But legends have a way of resurfacing when the time is right, and that time was about to arrive. One crisp autumn day, when the leaves painted the forest in shades of gold and crimson, a young adventurer named Eli ventured deep into the wilderness. Eli, fueled by curiosity and a thirst for adventure, had heard whispers of the legendary trapper who once called Mission Ridge home. Those whispers led him to Robbie's secluded cabin, nestled among the trees like a well-kept secret. Upon entering the cabin, Eli was struck by a sense of reverence. It was as though time had stood still in this rustic abode. Dusty shelves lined with books and trinkets told tales of a life spent in communion with the forest. But what caught Eli's eye was an old journal, its pages yellowed with age, sitting on a weathered wooden table. With trembling hands, he opened the journal and began to read. The words within transported him to a world of wonder and mystery. Robbie's vivid accounts of his encounters with the Bigfoot clan and the enigmatic sprite were like windows into another realm. The journal held secrets, tales of the forest's magic, and the eternal bond between humans, the sprite, and the Sasquatches. As Eli read, he felt a presence in the room, a soft, ethereal glow that danced around the cabin. The sprite, with its radiant presence, had appeared. Its glow pulsed with recognition, signaling the continuation of a legacy that transcended generations. Eli, though initially startled, soon understood the significance of the sprite's presence. It was a sign, an acknowledgement that the time had come for a new protector to take up the mantle. The forest, with all its mysteries and magic, needed a guardian, someone who would respect its sanctity and honor the bond between humans and the Sasquatches. With determination burning in his eyes, Eli closed Robbie's journal. He knew what he must do. The legacy of Mission Ridge, of Robbie Redsen and the Bigfoot clan, was now in his hands. He would be the protector, the storyteller, the guardian of the forest and its secrets. The sprite, its glow a beacon of hope, hovered beside Eli. It seemed to convey its approval, its light dancing like a silent affirmation of his decision. As Eli stepped out of the cabin and into the embrace of the forest, he felt a sense of purpose unlike any other. The tales of Mission Ridge, once confined to whispers and legends, were now entrusted to him. He would continue the legacy, sharing the stories of Robbie, the sprite, and the Sasquatches with the world. And so, the eternal bond between humans, the sprite, and the Sasquatches of Montana lived on, carried forward by a new generation of protectors and storytellers. The wilderness, with all its magic and mysteries, remained a sanctuary, a place where legends were born, and where the legacy of Mission Ridge would continue to thrive. If you have enjoyed our paranormal scary story about Sasquatches in Montana, please visit us at Paranormal Untold Stories. Come to listen to more of our scary stories collection. Paranormal Untold Stories encourages you to contact us if you have your own untold story that you would like our professionals team to put online as a scary story. Thank you. Please follow our YouTube channel, Paranormal Untold Stories, and encourage others to do the same. Paranormal Untold Stories.